Hey Sopranos fans, welcome to another episode here on Bully Whispers, and we are here today to take a good look at Adriana La Cerva.
Adriana La Cerva. There's one booyah hottie.
She is often viewed as innocent or naive, and is so alluring that even gay men desire her.
When Christopher was in rehab, she was calling me all the time. I was this close.
And you got a problem, because your barjol isn't even that long.
I was in the pool!
But she is also a good representation of a concept that runs throughout the show, be careful what you wish for, and not just because of her relationship with Christopher. So in this episode, we will examine Adriana by first taking a second to look at how she represented what you wish for, before moving on to different aspects of her relationship with the FBI, where we will go all Saul Goodman on the initial interrogation, and discuss if she could have actually left successfully as she fantasized, and end with a look into her personality, upbringing, and whether or not she was innocent, naive, neither, or both. Now, The Sopranos is peppered with examples of be careful what you wish for. Junior wanted to be named boss, and that didn't go how he had thought. Tony wanted control of the family, and that didn't go how he thought. Carmela wanted Tony to be faithful, and that one was never going to happen. But Adriana does fall squarely into the category of what is wanted, and for this perspective, it is best seen through Artie Bucco and Tony. Both Artie and Tony have families, albeit tumultuous ones, and both entertain the idea of starting over with Aid. Now, while Artie clearly wants it worse and is willing to risk more, Tony is the one who articulates their thoughts during a session with Dr. Melfi.
With someone like her, I could do it right this time. I could start a whole new family.
Except, of course, she can't have kids. Both viewed Adriana as a fresh start, even though she wasn't, and aside from not being able to have kids, which might not have been a big deal since both of them already had some, she would have spelled doom for them both. With Artie, there is no way he could have ever been with her while Christopher was still alive. Chris would have killed him, and under those circumstances, Tony might not even try and stop it. As for Tony, well, we all know why it would be disastrous for him, and that brings us to Adriana's relationship with the FBI. When it comes to the FBI and Adriana, most viewers' complaints fall along two lines. First, that they didn't care about her and were just using her for information, and second, that their negligence and or indifference is responsible for her death. Now, this isn't something that we will really get into in depth here, because it will be covered in an upcoming episode comparing the handling of snitches in The Sopranos and Breaking Bad with real-life examples from Netflix new series Get Gotti. But I will say this. Of course they were just using her for information. They are the FBI, not a therapy class, and to expect them to have any other objective is ridiculous. Now, the methods they use to achieve this objective can certainly be questionable, but that's a question for the upcoming episode. What we will be taking a look at here is how she handled being brought in initially, and whether or not she could have made it out like she fantasized. Now, obviously, when it comes to that initial interrogation, the only word out of her mouth should have been lawyer, but she's not particularly bright. So, I'm going to have some fun here and attempt to go through this initial interrogation, not necessarily as a defense attorney, since I haven't passed the bar in New Jersey and have no idea of their laws, statutes, precedents, etc., but nevertheless, I will be on the side of attempting to defend Adriana.
Am I under arrest?
Not at this time, but that can all change momentarily.
So, no. Is she being detained? Because if not, fantastic. Aid can be on her way, but if so, there needs to be a reason.
That's a search warrant. Your office, your club, your cocaine.
I notice here that they never said they actually found any coke. They're just showing a warrant obtained by alleging that she had cocaine. I don't think they've executed this warrant, and I don't think they want to. That's not a private residence or someone out of town like Big Pussy. That's a mob club, and if it got raided, word would spread quickly, essentially killing Aid's ability to operate without people being suspicious, which would make her useless to them.
It's not like cocaine.
Holy shit, Aid. Shut up.
That's not what I have you saying on tape.
I see. And what exactly do you have on tape? Her saying she had cocaine the last time you hung out, however long ago that was? How do you know it was actually cocaine? Did you try any? Did you take some with you to test? Hey, Adriana's an idiot. That could have been flour. From here, they talk about Adriana's hurt feelings for a bit, and then they offer Aid the fresh start that she represented to so many other characters if she would become an informant.
What if I say no?
If you say no, you'll be placed under arrest and charged with possession and intent to distribute cocaine. A charge that carries with it a penalty of up to 25 years in prison.
Distribution? I think you need to check those tapes again, Chief.
Oh, it's primo shit, Danny. We got an awesome connection.
All she said was that she had good coke and a good connection. She never offered to get you any or even introduce you to her dealer. So where is this intent to distribute in 25 years coming from? She would be a female defendant with no priors, caught with powdered cocaine in one of the most overcrowded prison districts in the country. She's looking at rehab, probation, and a fine. This is clearly an attempt to scare her by taking her to court with threats and grandiose charges rather than evidence, in an effort to get closer to another individual who has only been arrested once and hasn't been convicted, in order to get closer to yet another person who has been suspected of things but never has been convicted of them.
And after you make bail, you can explain to Tony Soprano why you brought an undercover federal agent into his home during Sunday dinner.
Ouch. Yeah, that's a rough one.
Just call that number and you leave a message. You tell them that you need a new dust filter for a Hoover Max Extract Pressure Pro Model 60. I wrote it right on there.
This brings us to whether or not she could have left, obviously not with Christopher since he wouldn't do it, but like she was fantasizing about briefly before we get to see reality. Now, let me know what you think down in the comments, but personally, I think it might actually be possible, but she's not smart enough to make it work, especially in the long term. Assuming she was able to take on a new identity and fly under the radar, the mob guys probably would assume the FBI had her in witness relocation, and we know the FBI would assume she was killed, so she might not have anyone actually looking for her. Lastly, this brings us to whether or not Adriana was innocent, naive, neither, or both, and to start, I'm going to have to address the context of the word innocent. Strictly legally speaking, of course she was guilty of cocaine possession in that instance. That being said, I'm not going to attach that dark connotation to her entirely due to that one incident. Plenty of good people have wandered off down that particular path. However, a path that good people don't usually wander down is covering up a murder, and that's where it starts being hard to justify Adriana as being an innocent character. Of course, innocent is often used more in the context of being naive or childlike, and in this capacity, a case could be made for Adriana. She is somewhat naive, which is surprising considering she grew up around those kind of guys and was related to the Aprils, but not entirely. She is aware enough to pick up on the FBI's motives.
You don't give a fuck about us. You and your fucking OBGYN doctor. You just wanted me and Chris to stay together long enough so you could find shit out.
Just a bit too late. Oftentimes we see that she knows things.
Mom always told me not to let myself be talked down to by losers. She said you can tell everything about a man by the way he treats women.
But doesn't truly understand them, as she watches Chris shove her mother, who gave her that advice, right before proposing to her.
Ow!
I want to marry you.
It's important to note here that what Aid considers normal is going to be a bit off in general due to her upbringing, and even more specifically with men.
But the guy was such an asshole. It was really the best thing.
How bad must that guy have been for Christopher to look nice? But either way, she thought Chris would be better due to her most childlike quality and incredibly trusting nature. This childlike level of trust, combined with a genuinely sweet heart, makes her a very endearing character, but not necessarily an innocent one. According to the poll I recently put up, 71% of the voters thought her to be naive but not innocent, and that's exactly how I would have voted. If you voted differently, I'm very curious to hear why down in the comments. Well, thanks for watching another episode here on Bully Whispers. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you at the next score.